Get ready for your daily dose of marketing strategies and tactics from entrepreneurs with the guile and experience to help you find success in any marketing capacity. You're listening to Marketing School with your instructors, Neil Patel and Eric Su.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Marketing School. I'm Eric Su.
And I'm Neil Patel.
And today we're going to talk about how you can amplify your content. So the thing we've been talking about constantly, a quote taken from Derek Halpern, is 20% of the time you should be spent on creating your content. The other 80% should be spent on promoting it. So the question is, how do you go about amplifying your content? Because if nobody sees it, it's not really going to go anywhere. So first and foremost, I always like to start with hand-to-hand combat, especially when you don't have budgets. This is when you can start to use tools like Hunter. So that's hunter.io. And you can find people's email addresses pretty easily. I believe you get up to 150 free searches a month to find people's email addresses. And then you can start to reach out to people. You can also use LinkedIn as well. Yes, it's very grueling, but it tends to work because you're not only reaching out just to get people to share your stuff, you're reaching out to build a relationship with people. And this is something that the support tool Groove HQ did when they were first launching their blog, and now they're well on their way to $500,000 in monthly recurring revenue. And really, the way the CEO started was he started reaching out to people individually, and their content strategy didn't work initially, but once he started doing that, that was a big part that led to their success with content marketing.
Yeah, and another thing that you should be doing is you can use Hunter combined with looking up every site that you're linking out to. So if you have a blog that's, let's say, 2,000 words, and I know that's a long blog post for many of you, but as Eric and I mentioned in previous podcasts, when you have 2,000 word blog posts, they tend to rank higher on page one. SherpIQ did a whole study on this, so you can look it up. But when you have a 2,000 word blog post, naturally you're linking out to other sites, right? If you want to show that you're an expert in something and you're putting data and claims in your blog post, you need to back them up. So you naturally link out to other people. You can use Hunter to figure out the email addresses of all the websites that you linked out to, email each of those site owners and send them something simple like, hey, Eric, I just wanted to let you know I'm a huge fan of your work. So much so that I even linked out to my latest blog post. Insert the URL of your latest blog post. Feel free to check it out. Cheers, your number one fan, Neil. P.S. If you share the post, not only make my year, it'll make my decade. And that's it. Just send out that email to every single person that you link out to, and there's a really high chance, like above 50%, that they'll share it. Why? Because you linked out to them. Now, if you then email them and ask them to link back to you, your percentage likelihood of getting them to link back to you is well below 10%. So if I were you, don't focus on getting people to link back to you. Focus on getting them to share your content. It's free. It requires a lot of grunt work. It's not too time consuming because you're not linking out to 50 sites per blog post. But if you do this, it works really well. And the other thing I do is I send out the emails manually. I don't use a tool like SendGrid or no automation. I'm sending them through my Gmail account. And I use, what is it called? I think it's called Sidekick. They've changed the name of it a few times by HubSpot, right? And that tracks how many email opens you're actually getting when you send out an email. So if I sent Eric the email and he didn't open it, a few days later I would send him the email again with a different subject line because he never saw the email in the first place.
Yeah, and with WordPress, there's over, I think it's close to 2 million now blog posts being published alone. That's only on WordPress, and this is per day. And you have to do something to stand out. And sometimes reaching out to people when you have more budget, reaching out and you have other things to worry about when it comes to growing your business. Well, there's always good old paid advertising, and a lot of people now are using Facebook to amplify their content. They're also using things like Gmail ads to amplify their content, Twitter as well, and to an extent, people are also using LinkedIn. So think about what works for you. I always like to think about, especially if you're producing a lot of content, one thing that's been working for us is producing a paid advertising content funnel. So basically, for week one, we might target people with a post on SEO. For week two, well, they might get a post on marketing funnels, and then we might just have 4 to 8 weeks of content that's being dripped out to people based on when they last visited. And then, based on their behavior on the website, Facebook now allows you to target people such as the top 5%, top 15% of people from your website, or They could have visited a certain number of pages. And you can target these most engaged people and then send them to the next stage of the funnel, which might be a webinar or it might be an ebook, and then you can take them down all the way to a free consultation or something like a sale. But the other thing is you want to make sure that you're using paid advertising to amplify your content. A lot of people think about using paid advertising just to drive the sale, when in fact you are really trying to nurture people, because oftentimes now people are a lot more savvy. It takes 8+ touch points to get people to convert. So you want to build a relationship with people. And again, I started with the relationship. Again, you're still building a relationship with people even though you're paying for the advertising.
Another tactic that I love doing is I use a tool that helps me get a lot more Pinterest traffic, right? More so service. So I want you to Google this because it's a long process, but it's really easy to do, right? It breaks it down step by step. Google the Pinterest traffic experiment space side hustle nation. So there's multiple words, but the first part is the Pinterest traffic experiment. And then you want to add in side hustle nation. Side hustle nation is 3 words. And it comes up with a blog post called the Pinterest traffic experiment. I'm up 2,350% in 60 days, right? In essence, the guy breaks down how he's getting way more Pinterest traffic, and I use it myself, and it works well. It pretty much what it does is it helps you add a ton of your content to different boards based on what's getting traffic, and then it uses this service where they get all your pins out there. It's cheap. I forgot what I paid, but it's less than $100 a month, I believe. It's called Board Booster. So that's a service that I'm using. And the pricing breaks down. I'm on the package that is $50 a month. And when you pay $50 a month, I forgot my rough traffic stats, but before the Pinterest experiment, I know I was getting less than 500 visitors a day. Now I know I'm getting more than, I think it's like 2,000 something visitors a day from Pinterest, but it's not bad for $50 a month.
And just to share more numbers around Pinterest, there's somebody I know called, or I listen to his podcast sometimes, he's called the Blog Millionaire. And this guy drives, I think it's about 200,000 visits a month just from Pinterest alone. And then there's another company out there, their publication called Greatest, and they drive about 10 million visits a month, but about 10% of that, so 1 million visits a month, are from Pinterest. So don't sneeze at Pinterest. I mean, when you're producing a lot of content, you might have great images, you might have great infographics. Put it out there, use the tool that Neil mentioned, and you might be surprised at just the other source that you might be able to open up. And I think other than that, I mean, in terms of content amplification, don't forget about the basics. People sometimes tend to look for the new shiny object, but the stuff that you have already, such as your email list, you can easily set up like a RSS to email type of automation where you're going to hit your email list automatically with new content that you have coming out. And don't forget about promoting to your social channels, and you can use a tool like Edgar. That's meetedgar.com. So you can set up a constant calendar of content that you're putting out. Just make sure that you're scheduling your evergreen content and your not so evergreen content. You're separating them out, so you're not showing your audience irrelevant stuff. Neil, anything else to add before we hop off?
Yeah, as Eric mentioned, the simple stuff works too. So I changed my strategy from blogging 7 times a week on neilpatel.com to once a week. And now every time I blog once a week, I do boosted posts. I hate boosted posts, but Eric's like, you got to do boosted posts. They work out, yada, 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 right? So long story short, I tested it out. I spent $500 per post that I write on neilpatel.com for a boost. I found that it doesn't actually create a ton of page likes compared to like campaigns, and I still find like campaigns to be better. But I spend so much time and energy on a post, just spending $500 ensures it gets out there. And I know that's expensive for a lot of people, but it's made a huge difference to my traffic. Now each blog post gets another like 3,500 to 4,000 visitors, which isn't too shabby.
I think a lot of people are hesitant to push money into promoting content, but if you're spending a couple $100s on a post, let's just say $200 or so, you should at least spend, $200, $400, $600, $800.
So if you're spending $100 on a post to write it, or you're paying someone $100, then you should be spending $400 to promote it. $400 could be paying people in their time to email others to share it. It could be on Facebook boosts, whatever you want, however you want to divide up that budget. But the rule of thumb is 20% on the content creation, budget-wise, 80% on promotion. So if you spend $100 on creation, you should spend $400 on promotion.
And Neil, people are probably wondering, well, they're thinking, well, Neil, you're probably spending a couple $100s on a post. Why is Neil only spending 500 even though he said 80-20? What do you think about that?
Yeah, so I spend way more than a few $100s. I have a full-time researcher that works for me, which costs me more than $10,000 a month. Then I have a data scientist who's part-time that costs me $6,000. So if you add up the numbers, it's quite a bit. I don't spend 80% directly on each post, but I spend way more of that on promotion. So for example, right now on average, I spend $500 to $1,000 a day just on buying Facebook likes to my fan page, right? On top of that, I pay people to do email blasts and mention my blog and blog posts and subscribe to my list. So that way when I release a new blog post, I can email out to people and just be like, all right, check out my latest blog post. Just alone on Facebook video ads to get people to go to opt-in, I spend more than $100,000 a month. So if you look at the numbers, technically for me, I probably am more in the range of 90 to 95% on marketing and 5 or 10% on content creation for budget-wise.
There you have it. And another key lesson, Neil talked about trying out the boosted post thing. And, I was a little hesitant with the likes in the past. So we're both kind of reversed. But there's a gun blog I have with my partner, and we just started buying likes, and it does work out really well. So I do encourage you to try it out. It's oftentimes the things that you resist that you end up trying that end up working out pretty well. So that's it for this episode of Marketing School. We'll see you tomorrow.
This session of Marketing School has come to a close. Be sure to subscribe for more daily marketing strategies and tactics to help you find the success you've always dreamed of. And don't forget to rate and review so we can continue to bring you the best daily content possible. We'll see you in class tomorrow, right here on Marketing School.